Okay, so we're gonna do 1 through 10 on ALEKS, but this is module 8.4. So hopefully if you get stuck on some of these roots, this will help you out because that's what 8.4 is all about, is roots and stuff. So let's dive in and start with number 1. So we have the square root of 25 divided by 9. And the reason I know that this is a square root is because if there's no number here, that implies that it's squared. So this is the square root of 25 divided by 9. So what that means is we're looking for a value that we can multiply by itself, in this case to get 25, and then again we're looking for another value you can multiply by itself to get 9. So for this first one, we're going to look for the square root of 25 first. So if we multiply 5 by 5, we get 25, and some of you guys may just already know that in your head. So the square root of 25 would be 5. Because if you do 5 squared, you get 25. But if you do the square root of 25, you get 5. So now we're going to look for something you can multiply by itself to get 9. And we know that 3 times 3 is 9. So that must mean the square root of 9 is 3. So our answer for this one is going to be 5 divided by 3. Okay, so now we're going to move on to number 2. And we have negative 81 divided by 16. Or the square root of I don't know why I'm saying negative. The square root of 81 divided by 16. I guess my brain just wanted to throw a negative in there, but there is no negative. So we need to do the same thing as we did over here. We need to find a number we can multiply by itself to get 81. And we know, you may not know, but that answer is 9. Because 9 times 9 equals 81. So the square root of 81 is 9. And then 16, well, if 3 squared is 9, and 5 squared is 24, we need to find something in between that, and the best thing to use is 4. So 4 squared is 16, so square root of 16 is 4. And I already put that one in here, but then my video messed up, so that answer's already in there, and it's already correct. So we're gonna move on to number 3. So number 3, we have the cubed root of 216. And over here, when we're working with square roots, we're multiplying a number by itself twice to get the squared root. But over here, we're going to have to multiply a number by itself 3 times to get that answer, to figure out what's the cubed root of that. So that little 3, it kind of looks like it's in front of it, like you're multiplying that by 3, but that's not the case. This is actually a cubed root. So that means we're going to try to figure out what number is multiplied by itself 3 times. So Coach Riley used 5 cubed in his example, and 5 cubed is 5 times 5 times 5, and that equals 125. So if 5 cubed equals 125 and we're looking for 216, we know we probably need to use something a little bit bigger. So let's try 6 cubed. So 6 cubed equals 6 times 6 times 6. And 6 times 6 is 36. And 36 times 6 is 216. So 6 cubed is 216. So the cube root of 216 is going to equal 6. So that's just the answer for number 3, is just 6. Okay, so now we're going to look at number 3. Again, we're looking for the cubed root. That little 3 tells us that we're looking for the cubed root. So 5 cubed is 125. So let's look at something smaller. Let's look at 4. So if we use 4 cubed, we have 4 times 4 times 4. And we know, I'm running out of space here. So we know that 4 times 4 is 16. And 16 times 4 is 64. So in this case, the cubed root of 64 is 4. Okay, so now I'm going to look at number 5, and ALEKS tells me to evaluate the following. Click on not a real number if applicable. Okay, so let's look at the first one. we have the cubed root of negative 64. When you multiply something by itself 3 times, it is possible to get a negative number. So if you start with a negative number and you multiply it again by itself, which is a negative number, that's a positive. And then if you take that positive and you multiply it by that same negative number again, that's going to give you a negative number. So when you have a cubed root, it is possible to have a negative number. Over here, we found that the cubed root of 64 is a positive 4. So this negative, all this negative tells us is that this is going to be a negative 4. So it is possible to have a negative when you have a cubed root, when you have a fifth root, anything that's odd, it's possible to have a negative number. This one we have the fourth root of negative 16. That's not possible to have because if you're multiplying something by itself 4 times, you have a negative times a negative, which is a positive. Then you have that positive times a negative, which is a negative. And then you have a negative times a negative, which is a positive. So if you have a 2, a 4, a 6, any even number here that you're trying to find the root of, it's not possible. And ALEKS tells us to write not a real number. Okay, so over here, I'm going to put negative 4 in because that is possible. Down here, I'm just going to click not a real number.